Athletes and Artists presents The Fight.
Episode 4, The Fight Build-Up. This episode is dedicated to Puddin, a.k.a. Fun Fun, a.k.a. Funknotic, a.k.a. Oz Soldier, a.k.a. Jamacia Jackson. Rest in peace.
They give me the microphone. The club owner, he went like to his office or something.
Okay.
Man, I get on stage, I get ready to start performing the show. They start playing GA. I just see a door swing open. This is club owner. That man came and unplugged all that shit. He unplugged all the speakers, everything. We ain't doing that tonight.
Well, that's the thing. He got him through the door. He paid you. He did it right. He's like, not that song, man. Any song but that song.
Hey, he said, when he got out there to the stage, he unplugged the DJ speaker and stuff. That man said, that's your song?
That record is no more playing GA. That record is one of the many anthems that made up the crunk era. That voice you heard, that's the legendary Pastor Troy.
Yeah. Can I speak to P?
Now, he might not be the king of crunk, because everybody knows that's Lil Jon, but he is one of the pioneers of the genre. You might not know Pastor Troy's name, but we guarantee you know his songs. Dan Quinn, head coach of the Atlanta Falcons and former assistant to South Carolina head coach Will Muschamp, knows exactly who Pastor Troy is.
Yeah, Julio introduced me to Coach Quinn. I'm going to be with the Falcons for the Falcons Saints game, hyping them up to come out the locker room.
Oh,
you know,
man.
Coach Quinn came up to me, man, at training camp and was like, You've been a part of our locker room since I got down here from Seattle. You know what I mean? So
yeah, he was hearing it every day and probably didn't even know. He was like, man, this is the one.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he knew that was cranking him up. That was getting that juice going in him, man. So I'm proud to have that kind of relationship, man. You know what I mean? I appreciate all the players, everybody, man, that helped me, man, make this impact that I done made today.
Lil Scrappy had one of the undisputable classics. He had a song called Head Bustin', where the refrain goes, we some head busters, we some head busters, we'll knock your ass out, we some head busters. Song even had a dance. Want to learn how to do it? Take your dominant hand, make a fist, take your off hand, make it flat, put both hands above your head, and punch your hand. It should sound something like this. That's it. That's the dance. You even get bonus points if you can do it on beat. But why was the concert promoter scared of that song? Well, because usually when No More Playing GA came on, it was time to fight. It wasn't ever supposed to be the last song of the night, but often it was. If you've been listening to the past episodes, you may notice that Josh is not narrating this episode. This is Langston and Preston, and we're going to take you inside the music of the day and talk about how it set the stage for the build-up for the fight. We'll let you know right now, this episode has adult language in it. This is The Fight. So listen, fighting was not out the norm for anyone wearing Gamecock or Clemson uniforms.
It's just like when, back in the day where the club, like the nightlife environment was totally different. You looking at a crew looking at you, and the way the music was, everybody's just bouncing around doing like shoving, and it just, it turns into that brawl. Yeah. And that's kind of just how that game was. It's okay, we looking at you looking at us, let's bounce around a little bit, and then there's the brawl.
Being a part of a team or stuff like that, that stuff that went on often. You know what I'm saying? Just to be 100, that stuff that went on often. I know y'all got down with locals in Columbia. I'm sure because we did all the time in Clemson area. So you know how it go.
Absolutely.
Go to a party, whatever, somebody get the hating because you pulling all their girls or whatever. So it was bound to go down. So that was nothing new. It just so happened it happened on the football field.
So fighting was nothing new. That happened a lot.
Right. That happened. Some was gonna with teammates. Some was gonna pop off. You know what I'm saying? You I'm sure like y'all did, we had them individuals that they was gonna set a party off. You know what I'm saying? If you was trying to go ahead and get you a number, so you better get it before they got there, because you was gonna fight.
That was nothing new. It just so happened that it went down on the football field. But make no mistake, though, this fighting happens all the time. It happens at frat parties. It happens in bars. It happens on the street. Sometimes it happens in classes. Sometimes fighting even happens between teammates.
Several times, even at practice. I mean, the week before we played Florida, the offense and the defense was brawling against each other at practice. So, it's in the game, man.
So, all right. So this is something, that we're hearing. This idea of the offense and the defensive brawl. How did that happen in a practice?
It's the competition, man. It's the competition. Everybody want to be a winner. And if you want to be a winner, that means you want to win every play. And, of course, when somebody's beating you on a play or you feel like you can do better on a play, sometimes the energy goes a little bit further than it should. It goes a little bit longer than the whistle.
Think about it. And can't we hit each other all day long, over and over, in practice, over and over? Of course, eventually, we're brothers. We're going to get into a fight. Then parents got to break us up.
Right.
But it was nothing that, we fighting and we not talking to each other. We transferring schools or nothing.
Right.
It wasn't nothing like that.
These fights weren't just at South Carolina, though. Fighting was part of football culture. Here are several Clemson players talking about the fights that they had at practice.
It wasn't out of the norm. So, and everybody, be around, make sure defense or offense can jump in, because, it was defense versus offense during practice. And defense was going to ride with defense, and offense was going to ride with offense. And, it'd be times where something happened, or you might be getting bullied or whatever, Coach Sweetie be jumping in his grits or whatever. Like, man, I'm letting them do that to you. You know what I'm saying? Y'all better not let it happen either. So we was going to be there for each other.
In a strange way, crunk was sort of progressive. Yes, there was a lot of violence, but women weren't excluded from it. Crime Mob had women's empowerment anthem, Stilettos, which was an equal opportunity for women to get crunk and fight if that was in the cards. They also had deep cuts like, I'll beat your ass.
I'm rocking 60s like stilettos, ho. Different color every day, that's just to match the mood I'm in. Silver, red, gray, and black, looking this good should be a scene. Stiletto, pumps, in the club. Whoever thought that these girls would get crunk? Stiletto, pumps, in the club. Whoever thought that these girls would get crunk? We rocking stilettos, ho. We rocking stilettos, ho. We rocking stilettos.
But the song that has the longest legacy and is almost omnipresent in SEC football is Nuck If You Buck.
Nuck if you buck, why? 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 Nuck if you buck, why?
It's featured two teenage women from Atlanta, Diamond and Princess. And if you are in any stadium in America, we guarantee you hear this song during timeouts, during third downs, during breaks in the game. It's a staple in football stadiums around the country. In fact, they play it every week during pregame at Williams-Brice Stadium here in Columbia, South Carolina. Music was so important that Clemson even has an official anthem. It's called We Too Deep. Clemson, you might have heard this phrase. The Tigers adopted this anthem as part of their recruiting campaigns. They say it all the time. We Too Deep 14, We Too Deep 16, We Too Deep 19. Before they were all in, they were too deep. Now you might be asking yourself, why is it so important to be too deep? That's easy. It really means it's more of us than there's of y'all. And if there's more of us and we fight, that means we will win. Again, let's just go to the YouTube comments and see what they say about this song. First off, makes me want to kill someone on the other team. It's my favorite pregame ritual, says Christine Reynolds. whose avatar does not lead one to believe that this is be the music of her choice. Thanks to this song, my opponent in football is in the hospital. Random innocent human was his sign-off. This is fucking epic, says Miss NASCAR fan, which is really interesting because we'll come back to that later. This will forever give me goosebumps, says Mark Campo. We played this in the locker room before our homecoming game, says Zach Denton. You get the point. People love this music. But in our opinion, the ultimate crunk anthem is Throw It Up by Lil Jon featuring Pastor Troy.
Lil Jon, the motherfucking East Side boys. Okay. Pastor Troy. Yeah. We represent for everybody. Everybody. All the real niggas in America. Where you at? Or where the fuck you from? We represent for y'all. We represent for GA. Naptown. Tennessee.
Just listen. Before the song even starts, Lil Jon basically shouts out the ACC and the SEC. Can you hear your state?
Detroit, DC, Dallas, Texas, the Carolinas, Houston nigga, Louisiana, the Bay nigga, let's go.
Check it out on YouTube. Check out some of the comment sections. There's comments like, if you ever disliked this song, you probably got beat up in the early 2000s. There's other gems like, the new generation would never understand how shit went down in the early 2000s. Not to be followed by, there was a time if you played this in the club, fights instantly broke out. I thought Lil Jon and Pastor Troy was banned from club music. Man, whatever time, didn't matter. Anytime, anywhere, that time is a fight song. Somebody else chimed in, we played this song before every high school football game. I remember the stare downs. Tough guys. But why does this song work? It works because it's a simple call and response. It's just a series of chants. There's no intricate lyrics. There's not a lot of harmonies. There's only energy and opportunity. It really digs down into the primary reasons why we love and play football. It's dangerous. It's energetic. It's alive. It's risky.
We too deep up in this bitch. More of us than it is in the club. Stupid bitch. We too deep up in this bitch. We too deep up in this bitch.
I love it, man. You know, just being in them locker rooms, man, you know, a lot of my music had gotten to y'all boys' system, high school and Little League, you feel me, man? Y'all was already on it. Mm-hmm. So then when they get to college, it was just something common. It gave camaraderie to the team already, you know what I mean? Well, they didn't even know each other. They knew this song by Pastor Troy. They gave them something to unite with, man. So I appreciate it, man.
Young ass niggas, I guess we filthy rich. My whole clique ready to bust some heads. I'ma throw it up, bitch, and I ain't scared. Pastor Troy, motherfucker, you know the routine. Represent for the home team.
At a certain point, a bunch of men can stop becoming a group and they become a pack. Sometimes that point is on Friday night at the bars. Sometimes it's Saturday night at the tailgate. This time it was on Saturday afternoon on Clemson's Memorial Field. Now, usually those packs are fueled by alcohol, but the packs on Saturday were fueled by a more potent and dangerous substance, testosterone. Testosterone's great. It makes people take risks. It makes people go to war. It makes people stick up for their brothers. But it also might make you engage in a battle royale to defend the honor of your tribe and your brothers. But make no mistake, without it, the game of football would not exist. While most fans don't like noon games, the players on the field usually love them. One, you don't have to sit around the hotel all damn day. Remember, while fans are tailgating and getting ready, the players are sitting in meetings, laying around, and it's usually pretty boring. Two, it's over early, which means if you play at noon, you'll be finished at 4, you can see your family by 5, and you can be out drinking and partying by 6, just like a regular college student. So on this morning, everyone woke up with the buzz of the previous night's events. Players were all checking to see if each other saw the fight. Now remember, this is previous to social media. So the next morning was the first opportunity to see if your teammates had saw the events that went down the night before. Usually the mornings were pretty quiet, but the energy for a 12 o'clock game is usually a little higher because this isn't just breakfast. This is the pregame meal. Now, football teams are usually made of characters. Some are serious, some are hardworking, some are captains, some are funny. And, well, Jamacia Jackson was all of that. Here's Clemson running back and Low Country native Yusef Kelly talking about his relationship with Jamacia Jackson.
My big bro, Jamacia Jackson, we walked the ball and we scrimmaged each other every year.
Here's South Carolina wide receiver Matt Thomas, a.k.a. Teasy, talking about what Jamacia Jackson meant to him.
Just going, whenever I came on my visit to Carolina, man, and I met Jamacia, man, it was over with. Like, that's where I wanted to be. I wanted to be wherever he was at.
What was it about Jamacia Jackson? And it's funny because everybody screams out Foom name. What was it about Jamacia Jackson?
Man, Jamacia was, man, honestly, bro, like, Jamacia was the type of cat, man, that he was everybody's best friend, dog.
Correct.
And if he was your friend, you was jealous of him being friends with anybody else.
That's a good way to put it, man. Because you wanted all of them. You wanted all of his attention.
You wanted all of Jamacia, but he had so much to give everybody, dog. You know what I'm saying? But you wanted all of it because that's the type of person he was and the energy that he gave off and the vibe that he gave off, man. He was just a great person, bro.
Jamacia Jackson was the biggest of personalities. Not only was he a heck of a ball player, but I think he might have been the funniest person that I've ever met in real life. Now, this is not an exaggeration. One day during summer conditioning, I saw Jamacia Jackson run repetitions of 400s in penny loafers. That's right, penny loafers, hard bottoms. I think Jamacia's actually had the penny in him also. The coaches were so mad at Jamacia because he made all his times. While the rest of us inferior athletes were struggling, gasping for wind, Jamacia Jackson would make all his times and still have time to crack jokes on the coaches and the players who couldn't make their times also. It made the coaches so mad. Now, on this pregame morning, Jamacia was just being himself. And it was only right that Pastor Troy was his favorite rapper. Here's Taki Muhammad talking about Jamacia Jackson that morning.
One of the biggest Pastor Troy fans.
Pastor Troy.
So when Pastor Troy do his thing, it sort of kind of sound like Little John when he's like, But when Jamacia does it, it's like, and if anyone knows who Jamacia Jackson is, it's one of the best dudes I know. And there's never one day, I don't think I've ever seen him with a frown on his face. Mm-hmm. And he was always ready to keep everybody live. May he rest in peace. And Jamacia, when he came down there, he was like, we're going to get them boys today. That was the end of it. But,
Unfortunately, Jamacia Jackson passed on April 14th of 2008. The Clemson game is different because we have to ride a bus into the stadium. Of course, when you pull up, there are people around the bus. Usually it's your parents, your girlfriend, maybe multiple girlfriends if you had them. Sometimes it's even the opposing fans. There was one time when we pulled up to LSU and I saw a fan wringing a chicken's neck, a live chicken. I think I saw that. But anyway, most of the time when a bus pulls up, it's usually uneventful. However, this time felt a little different. A lot of my teammates talk about the way it felt when they pulled into the stadium. Now, most of the time, players use the bus ride to sleep. Remember, this was before social media, so there wasn't texting. Most players listen to music. Now, we know this is the episode about crunk, so you would expect a lot of players to be getting themselves hyped up before they got to the stadium. But that wasn't true for everybody. Two-time Super Bowl champion Nashawn Goddard had a different selection, one that may surprise you.
Man, you know what, man, I love the bus ride because that's when I played Alicia Keys, man. I swear, I used to be so turned, bro. Like,
to Alicia Keys?
No, I used to be so turned, I need Alicia to calm me down.
Oh, okay.
You feel me? Because I be ready to play. I'm ready to call my calls and mic this way and snap the ball. I'm turned, so I need Alicia to calm me down.
Some people live for the fortune. Some people live just for the fame. Some people live for the power, yeah. Some people live
I used to listen to Alicia get me right, get me smooth, balance me out, so I'm ready to play. So I really wasn't even thinking about that too much like that. I always listen to Alicia Keys, and my favorite song is Notorious Thugs. Like, I listen to that before every game.
Now, from the bus, you go into the locker room. You go get ready. There's a lot of hurrying it up. There's a lot of waiting. A lot of listening to Discmans. Again, this is 2004. There's going to be a lot of dudes playing around. Usually it's the DBs. There's going to be some folks praying. All kinds of things are happening in the locker room pregame. One of the strangest things I remember seeing was one of my teammates, whose name shall remain nameless, was baby oil in his arms so that his muscles could look good on TV. But Clemson's locker room is a little bit different. See, back in the old Clemson Stadium, before the remodeling, the locker rooms used to be right next to each other, separated by a really thin wall. This is obviously going to lead to some friction. The walls are thin, the tension is thick.
I remember it was small.
Yeah.
As far as, how many players that we got. And it was small, and it's hard to even get any type of comfort in there. You don't get none till you leave out to go warm up or actually be on the field.
Right.
So, that's the only thing that I remember, it being real, real small.
Were you able to hear? Because at one time the locker rooms used to be close. Clemson's locker room and ours. Were you able to
and we did hear some stuff as far as different talking, and you can actually say some stuff. From my understanding, I want to say players were saying stuff back and forth to each other, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Somebody in the locker room.
Yeah, because everybody's like, those walls talk.
Right. Yeah. So they was, because I don't know how it is now, but it was small, and the walls like paper pretty much.
Well, it's totally different. Coach Oates wasn't about all that, about that hoorah.
What about Clemson? Did you hear it?
Yeah, you can hear it, of course.
They were playing some?
Yeah.
Well, you remember what they were playing?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I knew they were playing and you don't remember it like just straight up, but I know it's more like a Pastor Troy type.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like I said, the game was ready, man.
It's like picture everything you thought.
And I don't know if you remember, but I do remember. Was it Bowden? I think Bowden was their head coach at the time, and I do remember he was doing their speech, and their walls, their visiting locker room, they're so close to the locker room, you could hear everything.
So you could hear his
the whole spill.
Gotcha.
So I felt like out of respect, Lou kind of sat back and waited till he was done to intervene and do his speech before we go and do our pregame. And it felt like that in the room, at least I thought so. So when they ended, it felt like there was a brief silence till Lou started speaking. And that's when they started banging on the walls.
Oh, wait. Dave started banging on the walls. What do you mean Dave was banging on the walls?
The Clemson players in their locker room, they were, the wall, like I said, the walls were thin. They felt like they were paper thin because you could hear everything in their locker room. So they started banging on the locker room walls, playing Pastor Troy music, getting livid.
But it was so small and packed. It was unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And their locker room was on the other side, where they come out of.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you could hear stuff in the walls.
For sure.
You could hear what they were saying. They couldn't hear. It
had to be, right?
Yeah, everybody knew what was going on.
Langston remembers the minutes after Rod Gardner's famous catch.
First off, this game is called the push-off game for a reason. Rod Gardner, who was a supreme talented wide receiver who would be picked first round to go play for the Washington Redskins, pushed off against a future NFLer himself and Andre Goodman to set Clemson up to win the football game that day. After the game, after the infamous push-off, Rod made sure that he spoke to us through those thin walls and let everybody know in the locker room in South Carolina side that he was the cop killer that day. C.J. Fry remembers the story.
Well, Rod Gardner decides to come over as we're sitting in the locker room. All of us are upset. Coach Holtz is giving us after game talk. He starts beating on the locker room door. Boom, 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 boom. I'm a cop killer. Y'all not coming to my house. Boom, 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 boom. So we get up to rush the door. Coach Ho says, no. You sit down and you take this. And you take this experience and understand every time we come up here, this is how they act. They are bad winners and they're bad losers, and this is what they're going to do.
The holder on the extra point of that Rod Gardner push-off catch was my first boss, Jeff Scott. He's the co-offensive coordinator of the Clemson Tigers now. So you see, this thing gets all tangled up.
Because they knew we got quiet just because of the fact that they were having their pregame speech.
Right.
You know, they know how their locker room is. You know?
Right.
You know? So the fact that they went chaotic right as soon as Lou started speaking, it was like, okay, this is ultimate disrespect.
So while Freddie talked about the Gamecocks feeling the ultimate disrespect, the Tigers would feel the same way in a few short minutes. Now, both teams claim to have the best interest in college football. Of course, this is half of what college football is about: the beauty, the pageantry, the pomp, and the circumstance. All of it. The entrances, the tradition, all of the nostalgia. We, at South Carolina, we have the infamous 2001. I still get cheer bumps hearing it now. What's really crazy is growing up, I just knew it as the Ric Flair song. You know, the Nature Boy. Woo! But now as an adult, it's 2001. It's the interest for the Gamecocks. It's electric. The crowd goes in a frenzy. You should look it up on YouTube right now. It's really amazing to see.
But Clemson has an interest too. They call it the most exciting 25 seconds in football. They get to rubber rock and run down the hill.
I look at it as if we're almost modern day gladiators playing football in Death Valley. 80,000 fans, you know, screaming, you know, see all this orange out here, you're a freshman, you really don't know what to expect. You know, your first college game, man, I had chills running down my veins, man, and I knew then it was a good choice to come in. The last time I ran down the hill was against Wake Forest, 2011. Standing up top, amongst all the fans, amongst my teammates, I just kind of closed my eyes to cherish this moment because I knew it was going to be the last time. And I remember it like it was yesterday. When I finally got up there and suited up, I saw all the fans grabbing at you and slapping your hands and welcome you to the rock, and you put your hand on the rock for that first time, and you step down the hill and start running down there. It's an adrenaline rush that can't really be explained.
I mean, I guess it's cool to run down the hill, to touch a rock, to have all these balloons go into the atmosphere so little penguins and whatnot get all the pollution, so Clemson can claim that they have the best entrance in college football. Oh, by the way, they take a bus from one side of the stadium to the other. Who does that?
At this point, it's important to remember that South Carolina players were coming off a 63-17 loss to Clemson the previous year. Now, I say South Carolina's players because I was hurt that year, so I wasn't available to play, and so that loss doesn't count against my record.
Take an ass whooping like, you know what I'm saying, like we did the year before. We weren't trying to do that again.
Clemson's interest would prove to play a pivotal role in the fight. That's because in 2004, several South Carolina players on an emotional high following the previous year's embarrassment, the locker room scene we have just described, and of course the crunk music of the day, they sprinted directly from their entrance to the bottom of Clemson's hill to wait on the Tigers to come down. Now this may seem like a small thing, but in the protocol of college football, it's not. This was definitely a message. Chris Matlock, South Carolina's equipment manager, knew exactly what it meant.
Meet their ass at the bottom of the hill.
Go down there and get their ass.
Hell, go, hell. Hey, just go down there. Why don't you just go meet them at the hill? Hell.
Oh, hell, go get their ass. Go meet them at the hill.
You gonna take that disrespect? You guys should go down there and do something about it.
Hey, you guys got to go down there and meet them at the hill.
Oh, hell, just go down there. Meet them at the hill. Hell, it's going to be a dogfight out there. These guys, if they get in your face, you better get back in their face.
What are y'all waiting on? Go meet them at the hill.
We went down to the hill where they run down and do their rub the rock and all that. So we met them down the hill and started egging them on like, yeah, let's go.
But I still never forget when challenged our kids and told them to meet them at the hill.
Yeah.
When they run down, I remember when they were running down the hill, half of their players stopped, and there was an altercation in the end zone. Right there at the beginning.
You can see that from the TV copy.
Yes. I mean, I'll never forget that. I'm going like, oh, shit, here it goes.
Yeah.
The Clemson players got the message too. They heard it loud and clear. Yusuf Kelly said,
it was a lot of trash talking. Well, we have to back up first to when we was coming down the hill, and y'all decided that y'all wanted to meet us down at the hill. Right? Absolutely. Let's not skip over that. All right, let's get this out of the way. It was y'all's fault. All right.
Now, Preston, I was a captain for South Carolina that day, which means that I didn't get to hear pregame. I didn't hear any of the festivities going on before we went out. I was standing at the middle of the field waiting for the coin toss when I saw my rest of my teammates running to the hill. Here's Clemson's captain, Arius Curry, talking about what he saw when the players went towards the hill.
I know, because when he was mad at me as a captain, he was like, they're talking about throwing you out the game. Whoever I guess they saw that kind of just initiated, they was talking about trying to eject from the game. But anyways.
Hold on. This is Preston. So one of the things, I was out there for captains. I was the captain that game too. So we was right there. And so you ran back to the hill, and then Coach Sweeney was like, he was mad at you for going over there. He said you thought you was gonna get ejected.
Yeah, because I guess that's what one of the referees had mentioned to him. You know what I'm saying? Because I guess it was obvious. You know what I'm saying? With me leaving that coin toss and running over there too. So I guess they looked at it as me. You know what I'm saying? Trying to kind of being a factor in it or whatever. So he was talking about ejecting me from the game, but.
Gotcha.
Of course that didn't happen. Yeah,
and at the time, Coach Sweeney was your position coach.
Yeah, Coach Sweeney was my position coach at the time.
Right.
So, Coach Sweeney, he was getting on me a little bit about it. He was like, he was trying to eject you from the game.
Now, the legend has it, as many of my teammates say, that one of our coaches was the first person to suggest running down the hill. Now, Savell Newton said he and wide receiver Matthew Thomas led the way.
He looked at me and Demetrius and he said, "What are y'all waiting on?" I was like, so he was like, go meet him at the hill. Yeah. So me and Meek, we ran out first, ran straight to the hill. Clemson was standing at the top, ready to come down, and we was all just right there. 13 and 31, flipping back, we was right there, in the front of it all. And they walked down the hill instead of running down the hill. Yeah. And that's where it started.
Now, we couldn't get Coach for an interview, but Nashawn Goddard remembers it like noon.
Somehow Coach jumped in that deal. You know how he did, can I cuss on this deal? He always said, F technique, go kick somebody's ass. That was kind of his deal. And he was just like, go kick their ass.
However it happened, that moment firmly established the ground rules of the day. It's us against you. That's what the whole fight boiled down to. At its core, the players said it again and again and again. This fight was not about players being out of control. It didn't have anything to do with them being thugs. It was just the natural response, drilled into them by hours on the practice field and in the study halls and everywhere in between. When your teammate needs you, you're there. When your teammate fights, you fight. Viewed through that lens, it's a little bit easier to see how one shoving match could spread like a pack of firecrackers, one inciting the next, and then the next, and then the next, and then the next.
It's kind of funny to me now when I look at it, but at the same time, people will say, "Why did you do it?" And I tell them, I was like, the same thing I'm telling you. It's my family. It's my brothers. And regardless of where we are at the moment in our life, if I had to do it all over again, I'd do it again.
Man, that's an overwhelming consensus from everybody, man. Everybody's basically like, man, look, it's something that happened. I mean, obviously we wouldn't probably want it to happen again, but look, that's just how it went down.
Exactly. Like I said, that's just like you put me in the military. The man next to me, I got to trust. The man on my left, the man on the right. The man behind me, the man in front of me. I got to trust every last one of them like they're my brother, because they could, at any given time, it could be my last breath. Right. And I got to trust them, because they're out there with me. They're gonna fight with me. So
again, I just really think a lot of fans don't necessarily understand that aspect of the game.
Exactly. So, a lot of people look at us and say, well, they just ghetto. It ain't about being ghetto. It's that brotherhood. Anybody on any team would do it. Well, I would think if you don't blood to shed tears with this man for 4 or 5 years or whatever, any man should do it.
The word Woody Telford used was mandatory. The idea that he would see one of his teammates fighting and not join the fray literally never occurred to him.
If one get in a scuffle, it's mandatory that everybody else get into it. We protect one another. That's what it is.
Right.
On and off the field.
Right. And a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people have never been in a brotherhood like that. They don't understand what that's like.
Nah, they won't ever understand until you dare and you ride with each other. Everybody help you out with plays, study book. I mean, you would never understand.
Taki Muhammad, who worked with the Richland County Sheriff Office while in college, compared the code on the football field to that of police officers in a tense environment.
I know everybody, the fans are like, oh, it's so embarrassing. But I tell people, it's similar to what they say about cops. And you just got to jump in and you got to help your brother, and then you figure out what happens afterwards. So same thing as a football player. That's your teammate. You go in and you defend them, and then you find out what happened later.
Dondrell Pinkins, who would have been the starting quarterback that day if not for an injury, is now a high school football coach and an athletic director. But he still understands the player's perspective very well.
In the heat of a moment, regardless of what a coach says, if somebody does this, not to retaliate, if you see your brother going through a battle, it's natural instincts just to go hop in and be ready to take on that battle with your brother. And I think that's what happened. I don't think Clemson at that time or South Carolina at that time, had a team that was out that entire year just doing stupid things on the field. I think in the heat of the moment, some guys made some decisions that even today they look back on. If it was a way they could have avoided it, they probably would have. But what happened. And both teams paid consequences in the end, not being able to play a bowl game, but it's something that'll be stuck in history forever.
We set the scene for you. We hope that maybe you have a little bit of a better understanding of who a lot of the characters were on these teams, what brought them to this moment, and how we got here. In episode 5, we get the story that gives this podcast its name. We get to the fight. This episode of The Fight was produced, created, and executed by Athletes and Artists. Major shout out to Josh Kendler for the writing. Major shout out to TK Fowler for sound design. And big shout outs to Coach Aaron Myers, our chief strategist. Looking forward to seeing you next episode.